First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushua Ba'Hashem Rukakwadash. Yahweh is who this world ignorantly calls God. Yahushua is who this world ignorantly calls Jesus. Ba'Hashem means the name, Rakah means spirit, and Qudash means holy. And that's all in the Paleo Hebrew. Also, want to give double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. In today's video, I wanted to go into how catching hell is a rite of passage. Okay, one more time. Catching hell is a rite of passage. Now, what is a rite of passage? I asked the chat here. It says a rite of passage is a ceremony, event, or experience that marks a major transition in a person's life, especially a change in status, identity, or responsibility. It's basically a crossing from one stage of life into another. Okay, and when you come to serve Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushai, the Father, in the name of the Son, okay, it is mandatory that you cross over and become a new creature, right? Let's actually get that in Ephesians chapter 4 and verse 22. It says, I'll start at verse 21. It says, "If so be that ye have heard him, and have been taught by him, as the truth is in Yahushai, that ye put off concerning the former conversation the old man, which is corrupt according to the deceitful lusts, and be renewed in the spirit of your mind, and that ye put on the new man, which after God is created in righteousness and true holiness." Right? So when you cross over, when you start believing, okay, you go through a process every single day of putting off the old man and putting on the new man. Okay, and that right there is what you call a rite of passage, a transition. Now, the way that this happens is through affliction. Okay, it's through trials and tribulations that the Most High puts upon us. That's why it says that though the outward flesh perishes daily, let's get that. 2 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 16, it says, "For which cause we faint not, but though our outward man perish, yet the inward man is renewed day by day." Right? Going through life, the situations the Most High puts us through, okay, the outward man perishes. Okay, we're constantly catching hell. Hey, if you believe you're constantly catching hell, things are not going your way, things always popping up, the outward man, it's perishing. But whenever that happens, if your spirit is on point, it's going to actually renew the inward man. Okay, because whenever you catch hell, if you're in the right mindset, you should always remember, hey, this is what I'm supposed to go through. And it should build, okay, it should build your strength, okay, your resolve, and only make you go harder. Okay, that fire is meant to take away our impurities, to get rid of the imperfections and bad traits that we have. So, catching hell is part of our rite of passage, right? We gotta go through the stage of purification. And we could read about that in Zechariah chapter 13. And I'll start at verse 7. It says, "Awake, O sword, against my shepherd, and against the man that is my fellow, saith the Lord of hosts. Smite the shepherd, and the sheep shall be scattered, and I will turn mine hand upon the little ones." Right, going into how the Israelites were scattered, and him turning his hand upon the little ones is going into the salvation of the elect. It says, "And it shall come to pass that in all the land, saith Yahweh, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the third shall be left therein." Right, going into how 2/3 of our people will be destroyed here in Babylon the Great, America, and 1/3 will be saved. It says, "And I will bring the third part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, Yahweh is my power." Right? So the elect, the third part, are going to be brought through the fire. Okay, which the fire goes into the trials, okay, the hell, the affliction. But that fire is only meant to refine us. Okay, whenever you put silver and gold in the fire. The reason why is to get rid of the impurities and make it purer. So it's the same thing that the Lord is doing towards his believers. He's putting you through these situations to get rid of those impurities, make you a better person, a better man, a better woman. Okay, because the women also are involved in this. Okay, just because you're a woman doesn't mean that you're gonna be a-okay. No, you also catch hell, however the Most High deems it. Okay, every single believer is gonna catch hell, because if you don't, then there's something wrong. Okay, you're not going down the right path. Okay, it says in Hebrews chapter 12 and verse 6, for whom, I'll start at verse 5, it says, and ye have forgotten the exhortation which speaketh unto you as unto children, my son, despise not thou the chastening of the Lord, nor faint when thou art rebuked of him. Right, so we're not supposed to despise when the Most High, messes us up. Right, hate, abhor. Okay, so if you're not supposed to despise it, what's the mentality you're supposed to have? Okay, you're actually supposed to seek it, which it sounds like a very hard mentality, but that's what the scripture's saying. Okay, when we go to Ecclesiasticus chapter 2 and verse 1, I'll start at, my son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation. Straight to the point, you're going to be tempted. Set thy heart aright and constantly endure, and make not haste in time of trouble. Cleave unto him and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at thy last end. And whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully, and be patient when thou art changed to a low state. Right, so as I was reading, we're not supposed to despise the chastening, which when you go into that word chastening, if you don't know what it means, it says chastening of a rebuke or misfortune, having a restraining or humbling effect. Okay, it goes into correction or punishment, the Most High judging you, the Most High putting you through a situation. So you're not supposed to hate that. Contrary, you're supposed to take it cheerfully and be patient. Accept it. That's being humble, is accepting the position that you're in. It says, for gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. Right, so if you're an acceptable man or woman, okay, you're going to go through that fire, because that's the only way to try you. Okay, the only way to try you is to see if you're really going to still believe, if you're going to keep, your faith when all odds are against you, when you're super weak, when you don't want to do it. Are you still going to do it? Are you going to fall and get back up, and fall and get back up, and fall and get back up and get back up, and not give up at all? That's what Yahweh Bashem Yahushai wants, is he wants you to keep pushing no matter what. In order to see that, you gotta fall. So the Most High is going to put stumbling blocks in your path. But if you're part of the elect, you're going to get back up and keep pushing. As it says, a righteous man falls 7 times, but get it back up again. So let's go back to Hebrews chapter 12. It says, for whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth, and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth. Right, so if the Lord loves you, he's going to test you. If you endure chastening, God dealing with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not? But if ye be without chastisement, whereof all are partakers, then are ye bastards and not sons. And that's one of the points I wanted to bring out, is that if you're not going through those tests, okay, then you are a bastard and not a son. Okay, then you most likely are not going through the right path. And I'm not saying that you're gonna always be constantly catching hell. I'm not saying that. The Lord is a just balance. He'll put you in a season where you're down and in a season where you're up. But just know that it's a balance. So brothers always make that distinction that the Lord does have his balance, and he will have you up for a couple seasons. But just always remember that there's always another test. Okay, we're not in the kingdom of heaven yet. We're in captivity. And part of being in captivity is that everything is going to be against you. Okay, that things are not going to work out. So It says, "But if ye be without chastisement, whereof all are partakers, then are ye bastards and not sons." Right? So if you believe that the Most High loves you, you're gonna be tested. Right? As I said, catching hell is a rite of passage. Now, I'm gonna get this scripture in 2nd Ezra chapter 2, and I'll start at verse 42. It says, "I Ezra saw upon the Mount Zion a great people, whom I cannot number, and they all praise the Lord with songs. And in the midst of them there was a young man of a high stature, taller than all the rest. And upon every one of their heads he set crowns, and was more exalted, which I marveled at greatly. So I asked the angel and said, Sir, what are these? He answered and said unto me, These be they that have put off the mortal clothing, and put on the immortal, and have confessed the name of God. Now are they crowned and receive palms." Right? And Ezra was seeing the elect. Okay, he's seen a vision of the elect being crowned. It says, "Then said I unto the angel, What young person is it that crowneth them, and giveth them palms in their hands? So he answered and said unto me, It is a Son of God, whom they have confessed in the world. Then began I greatly to commend them that stood so stiffly for the name of Yahweh." And that's the point I want is, this was a vision of the elect making it, and Yahweh Shai, okay, crowning the elect. But the specific point here is that it says that the elect are going to stand stiffly for the name of the Lord. They're going to stand stiffly when it comes to the business of the Lord. And standing stiffly means that no matter what comes your way, you're going to stand on what you believe. No matter what tests, whatever happens in your life, you're going to stand stiffly for what you believe in. You're never going to be swayed. You're never going to be moved. You're going to be a solid foundation. Okay, as that parable, okay, it talked about how the winds came, but the house that was built upon that rock, okay, it didn't fall. Okay, that's the elect right there. So, hey, tying it back to what we were starting with, we'll end it with this. Matthew chapter 7 and verse 13. It says, Luke, actually let's read it, Luke. Luke chapter 13 and verse 24. It says, "Strive to enter in at the straight gate, for many, I say unto you, will seek to enter in, and shall not be able." Okay, and that is the path that the believers, the true believers, will go through, is the straight gate. With straight goes into a path of difficulty, narrow. And it's not easy. It's not something that's going to be, an instant reward. No, this is a long-term mission. And just remember that at the end of the day, it is going to be worth it. It is worth it. Not going to be. It is worth it. Because 1 Corinthians chapter 11 verse 32, "But when we are judged, we are chastened of the Lord, that we should not be condemned with the world." Okay, we're being tested, put through situations right now, so that when the world gets condemned, we don't get condemned. That's why it's going to pay off. That's why it is paying off even right now, the Most High protecting you brothers and sisters out there. So, I'll leave it there. Catching hell is a rite of passage. Hopefully this is edifying. With that, and give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Rukakwadash, and double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. Shalom to you, like Shalom.